Rugby Championship 2021, Team of the Week for round number 6. The final round, I've gone ahead and picked 15 guys for a Team of the Week. Yeah, should be a bit of fun. And then at some point we'll have to have a look at a team of the actual season, which may take a bit longer to crunch the numbers. But yeah, Team of the Week, 15 guys. We'll stick around for some honourable mentions at the end, and you guys can let me know your thoughts. We will start with the props. As always, remember, this is not a perfect team, but it is the team of my choice, and I have gone a bit sentimental, but I've gone with the Argentinian prop Thomas Gallo. On his debut, gets 2 tries. Not long on the field, and the guy gets 2 tries. Is he the top Argentinian try scorer of the competition? He may well be. First game for the Pumas, 2 tries from 2 runs. He has 100% try to run conversion ratio. Phenomenal numbers. He gets 3 meters and gets 2 tries. That's incredible. 5 from 5 tackles, so it wasn't just about the try scoring. He scrummed. He did concede 1 penalty, but man, it doesn't get much better in terms of a start. The fact they lost the game is obviously not ideal, but what a cracking start from the young man. And the other prop I have gone with is TANIELA. TUPOU. Not his biggest week in terms of his ball carrying, but his involvements are still there, and his scrummaging is still there. I mean, what was it? There was one point where they absolutely monstered the Argentinian scrum, won themselves a scrum penalty. But 2 runs for 2 meters is more normal prop than TUPOU prop. Usually, last week the guy got like 40 or something. So 2 run meters for him is pretty quiet, but he still manages to beat a defender. 6 from 6 tackles. He only concedes 1 penalty. Last week it was like 40 odd run meters and 5 or 6 penalties conceded. Something stupid. This week he's a bit more within himself, but like kind of keeps it consistently kind of good. You know what I mean? Where he doesn't excel stupidly in one area. He doesn't have deficit in another area. So it does drop the ball a couple of times, to be fair, if you're looking for a black mark. But 1 penalty conceded, defender beaten, 6 from 6 tackles. 5 passes is more than most props get. It's more than some midfielders get. So his involvement rate for what the Wallabies do is high, but ultimately he's been scrummaging pretty well. Hooker, and this guy just makes my team seemingly every week. It's captain of the Pumas, JULIÁN Montoya. The guy is a unit. He even gets a clean break this week, which is unusual for him. 10 runs for 50 meters, including a clean break. It is the slowest clean break you've ever seen. He's knackered. It's towards the end of the game. The guy's just out in open space and he just goes, man. He goes as quick as he can. It's not that quick, but he goes for it. He has 3 defenders beaten. He has 5 passes. 12 from 13 tackles. The guy always puts his body on the line. He plays all 80 minutes. 84% line out is like good without being great. He wins 2 turnovers. His threat at the breakdown is legit. Man, Montoya, it sucks for him that he's been playing so well in a team that's been basically just been losing week in, week out. But there you go. Montoya for Hooker. Locks. I have gone with Big EBEN. ETZEBETH seemed pretty fired up for this one, did old Big EBEN. Another guy who kind of put his body on the line. 5 runs for 12 meters. It's not huge stuff, but it's solid for a prop. Locks. Locks are kind of like props in that they tend to not average much more than a run meter per carry for most. There are obviously exceptions who are like phenomenal ball carriers, especially guys who can kind of play lock loose forward. But for an out-and-out lock, he's got good numbers. He also has a clean break, which is not something you associate with a Big EBEN. 3 passes and an offload. 7 from 9 tackles. He has 4 line-out wins and 1 line-out steal. So in the air, pretty good. There is a black mark because he's the one who loses the line-out ball that Brad Weber ends up converting the try from. So that's kind of the one that he'd like to have back. But ultimately, I thought he had a pretty good game. And I've put his locking partner in next to him. I've gone with Lut Diacha. I think it's 2 weeks in a row I've picked old Lut. 6 runs for 10 meters is kind of similar numbers from what we saw from EBEN. 4 passes, so he's another guy who kind of likes to get his hands on the ball as well. I mean, Snyman is probably the best ball handler of all the South African locks, but he's not even in the squad at the moment. So having Lut there is an asset in terms of that part of the game as well. 9 from 9 tackles is up from last week when he missed a couple, so he's 100%. 5 line-out wins. His work in the air has been phenomenally good the whole Rugby Championship, so he concedes the penalty, but other than that, I thought he also had a pretty good shift. Didn't get the line-out steals this week that he did last week, but apart from that, pretty solid. Blindside flanker, I have gone with another Springbok. We're going 3 in a row. I've gone with KWAGGA Smith. He had a pretty good shift, and he's had a couple of good games, actually. He's in good form. And he's a guy who's, I've mentioned it before, he attracts a bit of criticism from time to time. He's not big enough to play. It's kind of the old argument, but I wouldn't say anyone's complaining about him after the last couple of weeks. He's been on real good form. 8 runs for 50 metres and a defender beaten is kind of what you expect from him. He's a former sevens guy, so he is able to kind of find that extra space as a loose forward. 2 passes, makes 9 from 10 tackles. He's not credited with a turnover one, but I swear there's at least one time when he gets over the ball and either wins a penalty or gets the ball clean. I think he wins a penalty. Maybe the All Blacks guys ping for not releasing. I'm sure there's one from KWAGGA, even though it's not in the stats. And he hit a lot of rucks, man. So definitely very busy guy around the field was KWAGGA Smith. All Black, I have gone with ARDIE SAVEA on the open side. He had one of his best games, and it sucks for him that it wasn't a losing effort. Sometimes these guys play really well, and the team just doesn't get it done. It was close, man. It doesn't get much closer, but 8 runs, 35 metres from ARDIE. He scores a try. He knows where the camera is when he scores the try as well, because he does a big dive, which I'm not sure all the coaches will like. They'll like the players enjoying themselves, obviously, but if you bobble it when you're doing showboating, then you can get yourself in trouble, but he doesn't. Gets his try, gets his little post shot, so perfection from him there. Beats 4 defenders, has 3 passes including an offload, makes 10 from 10 tackles, and wins 3 turnovers. He's another guy who was also very busy at the breakdown. If he wasn't the guy getting the turnover, he was the guy hitting rucks and whatnot. So very busy outing from him. He does concede a couple of penalties if you're looking for something to complain about for ARDIE, but overall, I thought he had a pretty good shift as well. Number 8, I have gone with big DUANE VERMEULEN. He's like a fine wine, isn't he? He's still getting better as he's getting older. Ulster in for a treat when he signs, well, when he plays for them at the end of the Springboks campaign. There's a couple of key turnovers, obviously, including the one that gets them the ball when the All Blacks are looking to kind of ride the clock down. 7 runs, 33 metres, beats 2 defenders. Good enough numbers on their own, to be fair. That's kind of similar to ARDIE's numbers. 3 passes, 10 from 11 tackles. He also wins 4 lineouts. But like I mentioned, those turnovers, absolutely crucial. Absolutely crucial from big DUANE. So good to see him put in a real shift as well. So that's your forwards. Like I mentioned, there'll be a few honourable mentions at the end. 9, scrum half, halfback. I ended up going with Brad Weber, but to be honest, this week is one of those weeks where you could probably pick any of the guys and you'd be pretty happy. There wasn't, I don't think, one that was miles ahead of the rest. They were kind of all much of a muchness. I like the fact that Brad scored a try, really good reaction time. There was a little bit of a question mark about about whether it bounced forward off Moody, but I listened to it back and the TMO says it's backwards off Moody. It looks forwards from especially one angle, but obviously one angle never tells a full story. But anyway, great reaction times from Brad, from that missed line up from the South Africans on their own line. He pounces and he gets the try. It's exactly what you want from you guys standing in that kind of position. 3 runs, 6 metres is not a huge amount, but 7 from 7 tackles. He has 41 passes. His delivery is quick. I thought his service was good. He has 2 kicks and wins a turnover as well. So, I mean, you mainly want your number 9 to be there passing the ball well, and I think that's what you get from Brad. And listen, then the try is the icing on the cake. Now, number 10 was also a tricky one because you've seen some good and some bad from multiple guys this week. But I ended up going, I went with Elton, man. Elton Yankees. And it feels really good to put Elton on here, man, because I mean, I've always loved Elton at Super Rugby level, but I've never felt he's quite had it at international level. But man, did he look comfortable. I don't know what it was. When he came on, things just kind of settled down a bit for the Boks, and he also had those kind of key clutch moments I mean, apart from, I think, one mistake when, didn't he not do the restart 10 when the box needed to secure the ball? Apart from that, he was pretty much just on fire. And everybody has at least 1 or 2 areas a game. Like I always mention, like, you know, this guy had a couple of drop balls or penalties conceded or, you know, missed tackles or whatnot. So Elton, though, otherwise just looked really comfortable. He gets that really good try assist. He just holds the ball up long enough to kind of fix TUPOU before going wide out to Mapimpi. He gets a defender beaten as well as 23 run meters from 2 runs, which is actually a great return from a guy who's never been like a huge ball carrier. He's kind of been a bit of a shifty runner, but more of a distributor, right? From what we've seen him, especially when he played with that big Lions pack in front of him. 9 passes, 3 kicks, 3 from 4 tackles, kicks 2 penalties, including the winning one, and that clutch drop goal. Man, Elton was really good. And it's just a really good one to see that guy kind of get his moment in the sun. So, yeah, good work from Elton. They don't usually go with substitutes, but Gallo and Yankees this week I thought were really feel-good stories. So, and plus they played really well. Midfielders, I've gone with an Aussie in SAMU, KEREVI. He didn't even play the whole game, man. He had to go off with, like, I think an ankle injury, and hopefully he's well, because he's been a key man in the comeback of the Wallabies, I would say. He scores a try, as he's kind of liked to do in recent times. 5 runs for 50 meters. 5 runs, 50 meters. Like, if you got 20 runs, 50 meters, doesn't quite look as good, right? 5 runs, 50 meters, a clean break, 2 defenders beaten, 4 passes, 5 from 5 tackles. And I've mentioned it before, sometimes it's just his presence. Just him being there locks up defenders. And then he creates space for people by just being there. So he is in that kind of world-class form at the moment. He is that kind of guy who is just irreplaceable. And it's been phenomenal seeing him back in Wallaby Gold. Now, 13 was an interesting one. Because 13, I usually, when I do these teams, I write down a few names that I think these guys are definite, and the other guys I'll kind of leave to the stats. I wrote down one guy for 13, but after I looked at the stats, I had to change my mind. So I ended up going with another Aussie in Len IKITAU. I initially had Lukanyo, if you're wondering, because, I mean, his wonder pass was just something phenomenal. But then the head-to-head stats, IKITAU's just pretty much got it hands down. The stats obviously don't tell you the whole story, but IKITAU threw a wonder pass of his own. It's maybe not quite as good as arms behind the back one, but it's a no-look kind of out the back of the hand offload. It's like, it's ballpark. There's not a lot between it. They're both wonder passes. So IKITAU gets a try assist. I mean, technically, doesn't get a try assist because his was a pass to a guy who then passed it, but kind of, you know, take that for what it's worth. It's just a stat, but it's still a wonder pass. But he gets that no-look offload, which is the try assist. He has 8 runs for 32 meters. He has 2 defenders beaten, 10 passes, so really kind of key player in the distribution with the Wallabies. He has an offload, like I mentioned, which is the try assist. 5 from 7 tackles, and wins the turnover. Well, his numbers, man, are just very good, and he's just looked the business, eh? I was initially a bit skeptical because Dave Rennie's been kind of chopping and changing with his midfielders a wee bit. But I think he's kind of maybe got a good thing going on with KEREVI and IKITAU together. If you're curious, had 2 passes, 2 runs, 23 meters, a defender beaten, and none from 1 tackles. So there you go. He's an honourable mention, but I'll get him out early. His pass is certainly worthy of mention. But there you go, IKITAU and KEREVI. That's the midfield. Outside backs, it's got to be another Wallaby in Andrew KELLAWAY. Like, what a season he's having. He scores not 1, not 2, but 3 tries. The left wingers were certainly the more profitable of the wingers this week. But man, 3 tries for KELLAWAY, 11 runs for 91 meters. He just is always in the right bloody place at the right time, man. That's the kind of thing that's hard to coach, but he runs such good lines. 3 clean breaks, 8 defenders beaten. He's not even that big. I don't know how he does it. He's stronger than he looks. 5 passes and offload, 2 from 3 tackles. What can you say? When you want a guy to be there, he seems to just be that guy. So there you go. Right winger, as I mentioned, right wingers were a wee bit quieter this week, but I've gone with SEVU REECE. It certainly wasn't as flashy as kind of some of the left wingers this week, but for right wing, REECE took his try really well. He only had 3 runs, but he got 32 meters, which is kind of like KEREVI. It's a really good return if you're looking at meters per carry. He has a clean break, 2 passes, 3 from 4 tackles. He wins a quick line out. I think he only had to take, was it 1 high ball? And I think he took it. He did struggle with 1 grubber kick through that he kind of had to, he was trying to field a grubber kick basically, and he knocked it on, but they had advantage, back for a Springboks advantage anyway. But yeah, kind of solid without being really spectacular. But Pataya was okay, but he got injured, and Nkosi put in a nice try saving tackle. I'm getting into honourable mentions again, but you know what I mean. I'm going to go with Reece. So there you go. And final one, I have gone with probably the All Blacks, like player of the tournament, man. That's some ugly handwriting, but that's Jordie Barrett. Jordie Barrett's been in the form of his career. I mean, him from the restarts alone is the kind of thing that the stats can't measure. Like the All Blacks from their restarts would just kick it straight up the middle and just get that 6'5" frame of his to just jump and try and tap it back. And they didn't really seem to have an answer for it. That was such a weapon for the All Blacks, man. And I don't know what to say. It's massive. He gets a conversion and 4 penalties. He has 10 runs. He does miss a couple of kicks. He misses 2 conversions. So in the scheme of this game, you could say like he should be kicking those. And other days he has. But you know, how many times with this tournament you've seen Pollard miss him to in games they didn't win. So it happens to all the kickers, right? But I don't think you can blame him, man. He has 76 run meters, 5 defenders beaten, 2 clean breaks. Like that run where he just, took it at the back and was just like, bugger it, I'm running up the guts. Like, phenomenal stuff. 2 from 2 tackles. He does have those 2 missed conversions. He does have 2 turnovers conceded. But, yeah, there you go. Jordie Barrett. So that rounds out the team of the week. Honourable mentions, like I promised. I mentioned Lekanyo with that pass of his was phenomenal. Frans Steyn with that boot of his, especially that 50-22, was the stuff of magic as well. Bongi and Bonambi looked pretty furious in like 30-odd minutes that he played. Came very close to scoring a try. Luke Jacobson got through a heap of work for the All Blacks. I think he was one of our top tacklers, was into a bit of everything. Rob Valtini, likewise, in terms of the loosies, was really on fire. So it was a very competitive week in terms of especially number 8s. Valtini ends up with a couple of try assists, which is a huge one. Petty at line-out time for the Argentinians was phenomenal as well. He took a stupid number of line-out takes, man. In the air, he's almost unrivaled. He's one of the best guys at just winning aerial ball. Like, he's just so comfortable up there. Quay Cooper, I thought, ran the game pretty well. If you're looking for a starting 10, probably you go with him. I think the Wallabies didn't look as good when Cooper went off, to be fair. All the halfbacks, as I mentioned, had their own kind of good games. Khaleesi won a couple of turnovers and was, again, really busy around the breakdown. Didn't have as much kind of ball-in-hand stuff. Kitsoff even got a bloody line-out steal. So, yeah, certainly some good performances this week, but that's the team. If you're going for a coach, I always forget to say like coach of the week. Maybe Jacques Nienaber, because he actually used his subs early for a change. Brought on Elton. Elton didn't even get used the week before. Brought on Herschel Yankees for some decent minutes. Brought on Frans Steyn early. Like, yeah, it was kind of good, decisive stuff. I'm not saying you always have to bring him on early. If things are going right, you don't need to. But, yeah, it was good to see him do that. If you wanted to pick a captain, people often ask me, who's the captain of the team? Like, who's the most outstanding player of the week? I don't know. Maybe Kellaway with 3 tries. It's pretty hard to argue with that. I mean, some of them look like a walk-in, but he's got to be there at the right place, the right time, and he's still, not all of them are a walk-in. Some of them he had to legit beat some proper defenders. So anyway, there you go. Maybe familiar with the turnovers at the end. I don't know. SAVEA, huge. You guys take care, and let me know who you would have had in your team if you were picking a 15, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.